Hello, it's Dr. Lisa Taylor, and it's time for a Doc Talk. So, this life, at times, we find ourselves broken. And sometimes it's just a piece of us is broken and we're carrying it literally as the chip on our shoulder. But there are times when we're completely shattered and we don't feel like ourselves. We don't even know what that means. So there have been a couple I've been shattered before, more than once. And when I'm shattered, what happens is literally my pieces just and I feel like they're um all scattered on the floor. And in my past, I have quickly tried to pick up all those pieces and put them back together with glue, tape, um, any sticky substance that I could think of. Just get all those pieces put back together again so I can keep moving, keep breathing, keep going on. And often I try to not let other people know how shattered I am or even that I am. And so I quickly put them back together and I just kind of mash my pieces together and I try to get them back the way it was. And I've done that over and over again. Problem is as I've done that and mash those pieces together and just try to keep going, I keep getting shattered. Well, the last time it happened, I was in the middle of a terrible, horrible depression. It had been going on for about 5 years. And it was dark, and it had been dark. And I was in that abyss. And as I was at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of abyss. If you haven't watched my video about the abyss, check it out. So I was and I literally didn't know that the abyss was as low as this. And I was completely shattered. And all those pieces were laying in front of me. But this time, I did something different. I didn't pick up the pieces. In fact, I stood back from them. And I saw all these pieces of myself all over, and I wasn't even sure if I didn't know anything about me. I didn't know. I knew that all my pieces were there. But I didn't know who I was. And I realized that I really didn't know that. Who am I? What does it mean to be Dr. Lisa K. Cornea Taylor? What are the real pieces of myself? I didn't know. And for my whole life, up to this time, about 50 years, I thought I knew bits and pieces of myself, but I really didn't know what I was me together. How can I live an authentic life if I don't even know who I am and what I'm all about and what's important to me and what I truly value and what I truly believe and what I want to project to the world and what I want to project to myself and my spouse and my kids? Who am I? I didn't know. It was scary to let all those pieces stay there. Really scary. It was really, really scary because I was vulnerable. So fragile, I was in bits. And some of those pieces were big and some of them were minuscule sand grains, particles of dust. And they were all there, and I was afraid they'd blow away. And what if they did? If they blew away, would I be me? Would I like me? Could I live with me? I didn't know. But all I knew is I couldn't keep gluing myself together in a multitude ways and only to have it break again. Obviously, I wasn't doing it right. Obviously, I wasn't putting the pieces together well. Now, my husband's a welder, among other things. And I know that if something is welded right, that the weld itself is stronger than the original metal that it connected. And that the piece of metal may break again or come apart, but it's not likely to come apart at the weld if the weld is done well. So why haven't my welds held? I haven't done them well. They kept falling apart and shattering, and this time, after 5 years in the abyss, I just didn't know that I could continue. I wanted to, but I didn't know that I could. And I knew that I couldn't continue on the way I had been for my whole life. I had to do something new. Well, I'd been seeing a therapist for a while. A couple years by this time. I've done that off and on in my adult life. Very valuable thing. Found a therapist that fit for me. And I told her this one day, sitting in her office. I said, all my pieces are shattered. I'm just shattered. I'm all over the ground, and I've picked them up before and put them back together, but I haven't yet. And she looked at me and she said, all the pieces? I reflected, no, there was one piece that I had picked up and held on to. And that is that one piece that made it so I kept breathing. I wanted to breathe. And what was that piece? And so she said, well, what's your piece? What's keeping you going is every other little bit of you is scattered and not a part of what you are right now. And I said, the only thing that I know about myself, there's one piece, is that I'm a daughter of God. I'm a child of God. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I don't know if I believe or want to believe of anything else. And she just looked at me and she said, well, that's a pretty dang important piece. Are you sure? That's the only thing you're holding on to. And I'm like, yeah. And she said, what about this part of you that's a wife, a mother? And I looked at her and I said, no, I'm not holding those right now. She said, what about a teacher? No. What about a scholar? What about a person who likes to read? And we talked about those things that she knew in my life that I had that was part of me. And I said, nope, none of them. And then she said, what about being a grandma? And I paused. And I literally looked down on the ground. And in my mind's eye, I kind of saw the pieces scattered. And I went like this. Realized my fist was closed. And I said, yeah, I want to keep the grandma part. That's part of who I am. I guess I can hold on to that too right now. She said, okay. You have 2 pieces. So that's it. She goes, that's pretty fragile. You're very, very vulnerable. You're exposed. I said, I know. I have to be. I have to be. Well, one of the things that I have been given in my life is that music um, speaks to me very, very emotionally. And I think for a lot of us, that's true. And there's a song that's sung by my very, very favorite artist that explains what I went through. I want to share that with you today. So I have it on the screen. I'm going to share my screen with you. So let me minimize me. So this is Hilary Weeks. And in her album, Love Your Life, she sings a song, Tell Your Heart to Beat Again. It's been covered by other artists, and I believe this is a cover. I don't think she wrote this herself. But I love this woman. Never met her. Her songs are the things that I can't say, or I don't know how to say at first. So I'm going to share this with you. Tell your heart to beat again. And it even starts. You see right here? You're shattered like you've never been before. The life you knew in 1,000 pieces on the floor. And words fall short in times like these when this world drives you to your knees. You lost me. There I am. I can make that come forward. Edit. You. Float on top. Okay, let's try that again. There you go. When this world drives you to your knees, you think you're never going to get back to the you that used to be. I didn't want to be the you I used to be. Well, maybe I did. I just didn't know. All I know is that the you that I've always been keeps falling apart. And so I'm not sure if I wanted to be the you I used to be. I didn't know that I wanted to be. So I'm going to play the song for you and let you just feel with your soul the message.
As a struggling actor, I need all the breaks that I can get. At Liberty Boochie Liberty Bibbity.
There we go.
You're shattered like you've never been before. The life you knew in 1,000 pieces on the floor, and words fall short in times like these when this world drives you to your knees. You think you're never gonna get back to the you that used to be. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. Beginning, just let that word wash over you. It's alright now. Love's healing hands have pulled you through. So get back up, take step one. Leave the darkness, feel the sun. 'Cause your story's far from over, and your journey's just begun. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. Your heart to beat again. Oh, so tell your heart to beat again.
Didn't you love that? Tell you about my very favorite part of that song. It says, beginning. Just let that word wash over you. Beginning. You can begin now. Today, this moment. And knowing what's real for you. It's really hard work. It's really, really painful to figure that out. But notice it's just a beginning. You don't have to finish it today. You don't even have to know who you are completely. As I said, I held on to one thing for a while. Then I was able to talk to my therapist and realized I had two. I wasn't able to pick some things up for a while. A few days after that therapy appointment. And my therapist said, when we met again in a couple weeks, that she wanted to know if I picked up any more and what I did with those pieces. I went on with my life. Worked, came home, took care of my family, myself, my house, the usual. Went to the post office, did laundry, went to the grocery store. But as I did those things, I evaluated. And I thought, do I want to keep this part of my life? So I remember one day I was cooking dinner and I paused. And I looked on the ground. I did it physically. And I picked up the piece that's Mom cooks dinner. Do I want to keep this piece? Why do I do this? Well, we have to eat. But I cook dinner 4 to 7 times a week. And sometimes other meals, not very often, but on occasion, and other goodies and stuff. And it's exhausting, and it's tiring, and it causes dishes, which I really don't like. Do I want to keep this? Do I want to do it? Why do I do this? I turned the stove down. And I sat at the kitchen table and processed this. I kind of like to cook. It's fun. It's creative. I really like trying new recipes, especially. And eating them for the first time, that first bite, and seeing if it's any good or if it's like, I don't know, not keep this recipe or not. I make up my own recipes sometimes, especially when it's the end of the month and I don't have a lot of money and it's before payday and I need to use what's in the fridge. Sometimes those things are such keepers that I write down the recipe. In fact, we're having one of those tonight. I named it Riviera Mayan Casserole. It's a Tex-Mex concoction. Anyway. And I like to cook. But do I want to cook for my family as often as I do? They're pretty grown. They can feed themselves. when I go to school and I come home and then I cook dinner for everybody and then dishes and stuff, is it worth it? And I realized, how do I show my love? Well, I cook for him. My husband, we're not alike at all. Uh, except for our religious faith and our joy of food and movies, I guess. But he likes my food. He likes to eat, so do I. And so I show him I love him in the way that I can and that I know he understands. And he gets that I'm saying I love you, and that's through food, through dinner. Especially when I cook something that I know it's one of his favorites. Yeah, I like to do that. I like cooking for my daughter, who works later than I do. And they come home, or she comes to my house after work, and I can feed her before she goes home, her and her daughter. And so she doesn't have to have that stress as a single mom to have to cook all the time. And I can do that for her because I'm doing it anyway. I had lots of practice. So that day I picked up the piece that I'm going to cook for my family, and I kept it. And I went back and I cooked, turned on my stove, and I cooked it. And now, since that time, when I am cooking, it's not drudgery very often. I'm not angry that I have to cook and no one cooks for me and blah, blah, blah. Because I've owned it. It's a part of who I am. And I've accepted it and kept it. So little by little, those pieces came, and I'm not going to share you detailed stories about them. But I would come along and realize this is something I do, something I am, or something I think that I like. And I would take it and I would examine it. I'd think about it. Sometimes I'd pray about it. Sometimes I talk to people about it. Why do you think I do this? Or what are your feelings about this, about me? Or am I consistent in this behavior? Or is it haphazard? Or do you think it's really about who I am? Or is it a facade that I do? And I would think and think and think. And some of those things I would keep just the way they were. Like cooking. Some of those things I keep, like, I will keep it, but not this part of it. That's gotta go. Or I can keep this with this tweak. Or I'm only going to keep this tiny little piece of this, and the rest is going away. Or no. And sometimes I would hold on to that for a while and know that I needed to let it go. But was scared to do that. Because I had relied on that for so long that was part of who I was. But realize it's not really truly who I was and what I wanted to be. And so some things have taken a lot longer to let go than others. In fact, this last week, there's something that I've held on so tightly. And it's been 2 years since I went through this process, and I think that I'm finally letting it go a little bit. And it's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm excited. I was really, really scared for a while. Maybe I'll share that with you sometime. But then I had my pieces, and then I have to connect them together. Now, I could connect them together in the ways that I have in the past, but the problem is I don't have all the pieces that I've had in the past. And the ways I connected them together in the past, they didn't stick very well. Or some pieces did stick together, but then other pieces broke. And so I had to figure out how to stick them together while I was still building myself. When I pick up those pieces and keep them, I had to keep them. I had to keep them. I had to be authentic with them. So there was a few times that I picked up something and I knew I wanted to keep it, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to live it authentically yet. So I put it down. Kept looking at it, knew it was a piece of me, knew it was something I needed to do, and would look at it again and then put it down. And eventually, I was able to put it down and keep it in a place that I kind of labeled, don't know what to do with yet, but it's a part of me. And I'm going to own that. I'm going to keep thinking and praying and processing. It's really, really hard work and was ugly because I discovered that there's some things about me that are truly what me after conversations with people and I didn't like things that I should have let go of a long time ago or things that were harmful to myself or others, usually both, or I wasn't being honest with myself about, or honest outwardly to others that this is my true self. And when you realize that you're pretty screwed up, and this is not a good thing, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And if you keep looking at it, you have to keep dealing with that pain until you either repent, ask for forgiveness from others that you've hurt, or deal with it in some way. And boy, it's hard. This is where people get stuck. They don't want to go through the pain. So they don't. And they avoid pain. We all avoid pain. And often we avoid pain through addictions. We do things to help us feel better, gives us a temporary feel good, whether it's chocolate or coffee or spending money or gaming or woodworking even, cleaning, exercising. All these things that could be good things maybe, but can become obsessive as a way that we don't have to cope. That's what most people do, is we turn to stuff to numb us or make us think about other things instead of dealing with the pain of what we truly are. So this work is not short. And a lot of these things that I would pick up and examine, I realized that I had been working on them and working on them and working on them for most of my life. Did I still want to work on it? I saw that I had some pieces of me that, like my addiction to buying clothes. Why did I do this? What did it do for me? Why, even though I knew that it was harmful because I don't need the clothes and it's spending money that we really don't have or we need to put for other things that we need more. Looking at it, it's been, where is it coming from? Why is it there? And it dredged up a multitude of hard things. Hurt, anger. And it wasn't even one moment or a combination of moments with one person. It was a compilation of a whole world of things that I had used that to cope. But can I replace it with something else? It's scary. And we don't understand why, and it's all psychological, and there's lots of theories. But doing this work is rough. And that's why so many people don't do it. And they'd rather live a life of denial or anger or bitterness or hatred, because hatred can be an addiction. Sorrow and grief can be an addiction that we use to cope. Because we don't want to let go of that peace, because if we let it go, are we enough? Beginning. Just let that word wash over you. It's all right. And each of us have to do it in our own way, in our own journey. Sometimes we do really well for a little while, and then that addiction takes over because of fear. And then something happens, and we face it, and we try again. That's the cool part about this life. Is we can struggle with the same thing day after day after day and fail most days and keep trying. We can keep trying. So today, July, what is today? The 25th, 2020. Do I know who I am? Mostly. For the first time in my life, in the last couple years, I walked out of the abyss into the meadow. And as I walked into the meadow, I walked authentically. Most of the time. I still sometimes lie to myself. I still sometimes try to cover up or hide or stuff. But then I work really hard each night as I go to bed to process the day and to recognize that wasn't authentic. That wasn't really who I was. And why did I do that? What habits do I need to be careful of so I don't try to fix myself in a way that's going to break again? So one of the things that I have learned is I like myself. I'm pretty cool. I like my body with my mama pooch, my fatness, my wrinkles and my gray hair. I still struggle having a man beard. Do you see it? But it's part of who I am, and I'll tell you, I have one. Someday I might join the circus and be the bearded lady. So I hope you can think about who you are and how you're welding your pieces together when you get shattered or parts of them break off and you have to pick them up again. Don't be in a hurry to fix them quickly so that people don't know and don't see, because you're hiding you from you. Look at that. So some of the pieces that I have kept. I'm a teacher. During this time, I was working on a second master's degree in administration, education administration, to be a school principal. Even though I have a doctorate in education leadership, which means I could be president of Harvard University, I can't be a school principal in most states. Kind of weird, huh? And I thought that I was limiting myself and I wanted to be a school leader and those kinds of things, and I got this close to graduating with a second master's in educational leadership. And one day I looked at that piece and realized I'm a teacher. I'm not a school administrator. I'm a teacher. I'd like to teach at the college level maybe, so that hopefully the doctorate will come in handy someday. I want to write. I want to speak. I want to consult. But that's teaching people. I don't want to be a school manager. I don't want to manage an organization. It's hard enough managing a family, and I don't do that very well most of the time, I don't think. So I let go of that piece that I had been holding on for a long, long time. People had told me I should be an administrator. I'd been asked to be an administrator. And I got this close from having that certification, and I'm like, and I thought to myself, well, you could just do it and then just have it but not use it. And I'm like, nope, that's not authentic. And the day I chose to stop, I knew it was right. And I knew it was me. And I didn't have to think anymore about being a school administrator. And I'm really, really glad that I took the classes. And I'm really glad that I wrote the papers. And I'm really glad that I did some research. And I'm really glad that I started seeing things through that lens, because it's helped me as a teacher a lot. So, tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday, we don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been, but learn from it. Figure out who you really are. I hope you can. So that you can love yourself authentically. And I promise you, one of the things I was afraid of, if I was truly myself, would my husband still like me the way I was? Well, let me tell you something, the miracle that's happened. In the last 2 years, my husband and I have finally figured out a little bit how to actually be friends. And our marriage is as good as it's ever been. You know, we drive each other crazy. But the blessing of me being authentic and liking who I am is I like my husband better too. Because I can interact with him truthfully, emotionally well, and healthy. And we have found what his is authentic for him a little bit, and what's authentic for me, and we live that together, how we do it. And some people say we're weird, but guess what? We're happier. So I'm learning. My people will love me as me. And there have been a few people who haven't loved me as I've decided to be what I am. And guess what? There are pieces I needed to let go anyway. Hang in there, guys. This life is beautiful. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You just have to know who you are. Have a great day. Be happy.